Okay, so this is going to be our introduction to coding, and we're going to start using a language called Python, which is pretty a great way to get started. And if you were to do a survey of colleges and look at what they're doing in their entry-level computer science classes, this is generally the language they're teaching. So what we've done is I've gone ahead and created a Python file. And when you go to create one, there's two different versions of Python. Python 3, and this is Python 2 point something. Now this is what we're using. You need to have a special account to use the Python 3 and be able to save it. So we're using the Python 2. And the purpose of this video is just to get the basics of writing code and some of the different things that go on. And so the first function I'm going to teach you about is called the print function. And so we can print something. And so the first program that you usually learn to write is called Hello World. And here I've printed Hello World. So I run the program here, and this is the output over here. Okay, I can also print the number 7. Okay, and you'll see that printing the number 7 and printing the number 7 in quotes are actually not the same thing. Now when you print them here, they'll look the same, but if you try to do math with them, so 7 plus 7 versus 7 plus 7 give you two different things. So when we print this, 7 plus 7 is 14. When we print this, a 7 plus another 7 is 77. Okay, and so the most important thing, fundamental thing that we want to understand in programming is that there are different types of data or information. And so whenever you have something in quotes, this data type is called a string. Okay, when you have numbers, these are integers. Okay, and so to help you keep track of it, we're going to put something in called a comment. So if you want to leave a comment, you could put the pound key, okay, or hashtag as you might know it. So this is a string, and this green text that you see is information that the program doesn't read, so it's notes for you. These are integers, okay, and this is a string. Okay, so as you can see, we can do operations here. And so let's go ahead and do another set. So this time what we're going to do is we're going to print, we're just going to say hi. And then we're going to print the number 5, okay? And now we're going to see what happens if we try to add the number 5 and the word hi. So when we do this, what you're going to find out is that we get an error. It turns red. Down here it says type error, unsupported operand types for add, int and str on line 3. So what it's saying is this comes down to kind of something you learned in algebra. You can't add non-like terms. So when you combine data types, they have to be the same type of, or when you combine two things, they have to be the same type of data. So if we put the 5 in parentheses and then do it, now it says 5 hi like that on the same line. The next thing I'm going to show you is about variables. So this is something that's kind of interesting. A variable is a placeholder, and it can store information. So let's make a variable, and the fun thing about Python is you can make it whatever you want. So we're going to make a variable named Bob. We're going to set it equal to 5, and then we're going to say Bob is equal to hello. Then we're going to say Bob is equal to 7. Okay, so the program reads from the top down, and so there's a piece of memory in this program, and it basically takes this value or this variable Bob and stores whatever the value of Bob is. So we start by giving it the value 5, so it gets stored as 5. Then it gets stored as hello, and then it gets stored as 7. So when we go to print, it forgets all those previous things. We can say print Bob and press run, and now we see that it says 7. Okay, And one of the things that is pretty cool is when we're doing some code, we can say x equals 7, y equals 8, and z is equal to x plus y, and we can then print the letter z, and we get the value of x plus y, okay, because that's what is stored in z. And as you're reading these lines, it does whatever's on the right side of the equal sign first. So we could even say that x is equal to x plus y, and then we're going to get the same thing. So we said x is equal to 7 and y is equal to 8. If x is then equal to x plus y, it's going to add 7 plus 8 together, and it's going to take that value and store it back into the value of x. So here it's changing the value of x to whatever x was before plus whatever y is, and then printing it. Okay? And so the next thing I'm going to show you, and this will be the last thing for this video, is about inputs. Okay? So whenever we take an input, we have to find a place to store it. So we're going to make let's say we ask somebody what their name is. So we're going to make a variable called name, and we're going to make that equal to the input that we're going to request. And so when we request an input, we want to tell the person what we're asking for. So in here we're going to say, what is your name? So if you ask somebody, what is your name, then they have a chance to type what their name is. Okay? And so let's go ahead and give this a try. So if we run it, see here it says, what is your name? And I'm going to put Mr. Stafford. Okay, oops, and press enter, and then that was the end of the program. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do something with that. So I'm going to tell it to print. I'm going to say hello, comma, plus the value of name, plus an exclamation point. Okay, and so now if we tried to run this, it says, what is your name? I'm going to say Mr. Stafford, and I press enter, and it says, hello, Mr. Stafford. Now you'll notice if I get rid of this comma right here, or that space right there, and I put it in, now all of a sudden there's no space there, so I got to add that space in there. You can also see, you can add maybe some more exclamation points if you want, and things like that. Okay, so we run it, put some gibberish in, now we have a bunch of exclamation points there. Okay, and so we took an input. In order to use it, we have to store that input into a variable, and then we're going to print it. Okay, we can also use a integer for our input. So we can put input, we'll say, how old are you? And then we'll maybe put their age instead, we'll call it. Doesn't matter what you call it. So we run it, and now we say what our age is. Let's say we're 107, and it says hello 107. Okay, so here's some of the basics. This will get you started on our first couple of challenges that you'll be doing in class tomorrow.